as being a student, I feel like everyone could relate to having a very heavy bag that you've had to carry. Imagine this heavy bag to be invisible. And the more you had problems, the more you had stress, the more. It became heavier and heavier and heavier to the point where you couldn't carry this alone. This is actually what a lot of people, and especially, let's say, teenagers and young adults face around the world and even in Lebanon. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Wherever you guys are, whatever time you guys are watching. I'm gonna come today and actually address the issue that affects everyone. It remains shrouded in stigma and misunderstanding, which is of mental health problems. And I may be challenging the stigma and promoting mental health awareness for teenagers and young adults in Lebanon. Okay, I'm a second-year psychology student, which might not mean a lot to everyone and might be irrelevant in some people's eyes. That I know. Who am I to talk about this topic? I'm actually a person that did therapy for about 12 years, not consistently I'd say, but I started when I was about 8 and I'm about to turn 20. It was before I turned 8 and now I'm about to turn 20, so I'm gonna say 12 years. This is because I was dealing with my own mental health problems I was being able to cope with my parents' divorce. It was like I shattered my world was basically shattered, let's say. So I'm gonna I know you guys know what mental health is. It basically includes our emotional, psychological, physiological, social well-being, and how we react, why we react, how we think, how we feel, how we act. I'm not gonna focus on this. What I'm gonna focus on, what actually people and the stigma in Lebanon. What is this? In Lebanon, mental health is basically very misunderstood, especially with the older generations and even people in our generation. People are seen to be crazy أو إنه بركي سامعين إنه ابني منه مجنون, and I've actually dealt with this as my cousin's mother's been saying this. And like the first time I heard it, I was like, I'm a psychology major, I don't know what to do with this information, so I just didn't react. I was like, alright buddy, that's not the point. And even only about 10% of teenagers actually have received the proper help. What are these misconceptions? Seeking therapy is not a sign of weakness. Of course not. It's actually a courageous step towards healing and self-improvement. Why is this? I even asked my therapist, why? Why, or especially in teenagers, which in general they have hormones, their hormones are going crazy, whatever, you know how it is. Everyone's been a teenager at some point in their life. Of course. Eventually you already feel very judged, very self-conscious, and with all this, and especially with guys, she stated that they feel judged, they can't really talk about it, they have to show signs of strength in Lebanon, like whatever. And even now in women, they are just to be very strong and with and even compete with men and whatever. That's not the point. The point is they have to be strong, and this is shown of weakness. Of course not. She even stated that it's actually, she's seen so much benefits from actually doing therapy and consistently, and it starts from day to day and then eventually ends in a long-term benefits, of course. What is an important therapy? It provides safe space, a way to talk, strategies, it builds resilience with people, helps them navigate the challenges of adolescence and their different stages of life. At each stage of life, you deal with different things. Like, for example, without therapy, you would deal with stuff by shielding yourself, try to block your emotions, whatever. But with therapy, you have a weapon like an axe to directly attack it and go through the problem directly. How do we do this? Consider the mind as a garden, first of all. Just as the garden needs care, like water, sunlight, flourish, support, alright? The mind is the exact same. They're like, each one's name is different. For example, the water could mean something to help you grow. The sunlight could be someone helping you explore your things. Support, our moms, our therapists, each one being something completely different. Of course, how do we do this? That's the important part. Education. We have to educate our communities, support open conversations, and even make it accessible for the mental health services like therapy. How do we do this? Government help, economic help, insurances could change some things. Directly attack the stigma and promote everyone to directly talk about it. And eventually, for example, if guys have a difficulty or like seeing like they can't really do it, if more guys start going, then like we have to lead by example. And what are the role of schools? I feel like schools have a very important role as they help us grow, help us learn, for example, and we spend most of our time, and eventually time isn't just time spent like we see on the clock. Like, of course, when you're in school, you'd be like, oh, I want time to finish. But eventually, and you always look at the clock, like, oh my god, we have like 30 minutes left. That's not the point. Eventually, you notice that school is one of the important things in your life. And these schools have to emphasize the role and like play a pivotal role, emphasize the importance of actually talking about your problems and knowing you have a problem or whatever the point is. You have to feel safe to express yourself and actually change the role of a counselor, as people are like, we can't really talk to the counselor, or like the counselor's in a very weird spot or whatever, okay? So the more you make it accessible, more normal, the more there's incentives, the more they talk about it, the more you lead by example directly. If you attack the situation, I want us to like directly promote, change the narrative, and even especially we can't change what the older generation thinks. I want us to change what we think, especially, and encourage. I want us to take like a pledge, for example, to challenge the stigma, support the people with mental health directly. Now you know someone that has mental health problems and they're not knowing how to deal with it, you can't really be there for them, you don't know what to do. I want you to directly be support, show that they have support, show that they can talk about it, show that they have incentives and a luxury to go and talk about it, for example. And remember, it's okay to not be okay. I know this sounds weird, but together we can make a difference and ensure that no teenager in Lebanon and young adults actually have a problem with their struggle. And there's a Lebanese proverb that goes and says, a small key opens a big door. Let us be that big key that opens to a brighter, more compassionate future. And if you guys agree with me, I want you to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.